What happens when two of the most plugged in people in digital care team up to help you make sense of the chaos? Welcome to Control Plus Care. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Katie.
This is your weekly briefing on the most important digital care updates. We're unpacking what you need to know this week in under 30 minutes. But first, Katie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. I feel like, it's quite dark at night now, but it's been nice to have all of the fireworks. Apparently, there's going to be Northern Lights tonight. So, yeah, doing well.
Northern Lights.
I know it is currently raining where I am. So, I'm hoping that that will obviously stop. The clouds will part and there'll be a
And you'll get to see them.
gorgeous, Aurora Borealis. Fantastic. How
I
about
mean,
you?
who doesn't love a magnetic storm and space phenomena where they're not supposed to be?
Right? Right? And it
Doesn't
just
worry me at all.
Look, I just think if you don't think solar storms sound very cool, they're not impacting us. So,
That we know of.
true. And were you saying that
I've seen
I've jinxed
enough.
it?
I've seen enough American emergency programs
Mm,
to say that at some point it's going to be a problem.
yeah. I mean, I do think on the scale of environmental disasters we're likely to see, and I'm not a climate scientist, but I would say that maybe the Northern Lights are fairly low down on our risk scale.
Okay, I'm going to take that one.
And how are you, Michelle?
I'm okay. I'm good. You will see from my lighting that I am very much in the depths of winter and I'm currently floodlit. Um, but yeah, aside from my house falling apart around me,
Hmm.
mentally I'm doing okay.
That is the important point.
It is.
You know,
It may not last once I've had many more dealings with the insurance companies, but clinging on there.
good. Yeah, insurance companies are notoriously good for your mental health, obviously.
I know. But this week we've got a really exciting episode that I am very excited. I'm very looking forward to.
Yeah, me too.
So normally we go and we rattle through the stories. Occasionally we have a guest. And this week, what we're going to be doing instead is we're going to take the opportunity to do a bit of a deep dive into a topic you and I both love,
Yeah.
robotics in care, spurred on by an article we came across last week, actually, and we couldn't fit it in on the BBC. And it's Would You Trust a Robot to Care for You in Old Age? So we will share the link. And everyone I've spoken to in the past week has had an opinion on this. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And, we have opinions on everything. So obviously I had to give ours. And then in the second half of the episode, we are joined by another guest, old friend and colleague of ours, Kate from Skills for Care, who is going to come and talk about the adult social care workforce dataset, the state of the social care sector report, and all of the workforce statistics that we know and love from Skills for Care.
I'm not going to lie, Katie. Robots and data sounds like our perfect episode.
It really does. So, should I dive in to this article, which almost as if we planned it, starts off actually with some quoting of Skills for Care workforce statistics.
Look,
Wouldn't you know?
there we go.
Right. So, this long read sort of talks about, as we know, because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, there are 131,000 vacancies for adult social care workers in England. And based on the most recent Skills for Care report, we're looking at needing another 400,000 staff by 2035, which is staggering numbers. So basically, the premise of this article is really saying, do robots have a role in plugging some of that gap, right? In terms of, where we know there's going to be more need in the future, and we won't necessarily have the workforce to it.
Yeah.
So you can't talk about robots without talking about Japan. So starting off there, so about 10 years ago now, the Japanese government started actually providing some investment into developing robots specifically for care.
Yeah.
And there was a big sort of evaluation of this, which was done by Dr. James Wright from Queen Mary University, where he was actually sort of embedded looking at how 3 particular robots were being used. So to go through the robots first. So you had Hug, which is basically a very sophisticated type of walking frame. It has particular pads to help people with support. It can be used by care workers to help with moving people without it being sort of actually something that is physically taxing. Then the other one which was looked at was Paro, the seal, which, full disclaimer, I love Paro.
You are a Paro stan.
I know, like there is a triptych of photos of me out there holding a bright pink Paro, looking probably the happiest I've ever looked in my life.
It was Katie in full joy.
It was great. And then the other one was Pepper, the robot, as well, who I think probably is the most well known of the robots, just by general public, not just in social care. I
Yeah,
once
we
did
see
have
Pepper a lot.
I had a terrifying experience once at Vodafone head offices where I was chased around the room by a Pepper asking me questions about Vodafone's corporate history, which I did not know.
See, whereas I met a Pepper who had a box of celebrations attached to her, and she instantly was my favourite.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, if I had a Pepper with
Robots and
chocolate,
sweets.
incredible. Yeah, so some of it, basically, these robots have been around for a long time. To go back to sort of the work from Dr. James Wright. So it is all published as well in a long form book, which I do really recommend, which is about why robots won't save Japan. And basically found that actually, rather than the care workers in Japan being really excited about these robots, they were at the beginning, quite often they ended up not being used in the long term. Like Hug, for example, needed quite a lot of manual effort from care workers to sort of move things around so that it could physically fit within a room. And it just became easier for them to actually hoist and move people themselves rather than try to create space. The robot. Um, there was mixed opinions about Paro, for example. So some people love Paro. That 20 years of evidence about Paro being right, very right for some people living with dementia.
Mhm.
But some people as well got quite distressed about when Paro wasn't available, and could really cause quite a lot of emotional upset. And Pepper's not used so much in social care anymore, very much gone through a bit of a complete change and is now used, I guess, in Vodafone head offices by my
Yeah,
experience, or handing
I
out
see a lot of
chocolates.
conferences. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of a mixed picture. And I think it's probably fair to say on this, and if we think about sort of the residential care in this country, Michelle, like quite a lot of them are Victorian terrace houses, which have been converted. And so
Mhm.
aren't necessarily the big, wide open corridors, lots of space that you might have, say, in the States, where you see quite a lot of server robots and that sort of thing, because they just have buildings which are more easily laid out for that kind of technology.
Fair. Yeah, and
And
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Culture and context are so important to this. And you and I both read the book about robots when Save Japan, and for them, the cultural barriers were probably the most insurmountable ones because people have a cultural expectation of how care is delivered, and it's not robots.
mm,
That's not to say it won't be in the future, but
yeah,
ultimately, you've got workers who are just trying to get the job done as quickly and efficiently as possible, and you've got people who are looking for people.
yeah,
So,
exactly. And that, cultural co-production piece, I think, is so important, and that's why I was really excited as well in this article to see the work which Professor Praminda Caleb Soli is doing at University of
mhm,
Nottingham. So very much in the robotic space, and with a particular goal to sort of move robot out of the lab into real world
yeah,
health and care settings. But as part of that, she set up a network called Emergence, which is about connecting people who build and develop robots, robotic engineers, presumably, with businesses and individuals who will actually use them.
yeah,
And they've been sort of talking to particularly elderly people to understand what they want from robots, right? And some things are the things that I would say. So it's like, I want it to be like quite cute and, have a lovely design. Other people are saying voice interaction is really
mhm,
important. Um, but the thing which the article really highlights and which I really took away was that people really wanted a robot to help take care of them, but not a robot that they would have to take care of. They don't want to be having to plug the robot in to make
yeah,
sure it's charged. It's really, really an interesting concept, right? It's like if you want to have a robot to come in and help you, it needs to be there all the time. Like
yeah,
it's actually looking after it. And, you know, I have a Roomba at my house. I'm constantly having to rescue that thing from the cliff that it's stuck on. And by cliff, I mean the rug in my living room. And so, I can only imagine the frustration if,
yeah.
you had a robot caring for you and suddenly you had a similar sort of minor technical thing that you
Yeah.
needed to fix.
My instant thing is the answer to that is that you have some sort of on-call system where you send a person to rescue robots, and it all becomes a little bit tangled. Like,
Yeah.
why is all this effort going into the maintenance and looking after the robot? Like, if we were to quantify what that takes and move that money into actual care,
Mhm.
like, are we not better? And I think you go down the cute route. I have a real thing about like gendered robots.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it really bothers me, really. I know when people go she or he, I'm like, no,
It.
it,
Mm.
only ever it. They, it, non-binary. I don't want to see a gendered, and this is very difficult. I don't want to
Mm.
see a gendered feature,
Yeah.
but the standard non-gendered feature is male.
Yeah.
So
So basically, you want more like the robot from like is it Betamax from Big Hero 6 as opposed
yeah,
to
no,
Rosie from the
yeah.
Jetsons?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I want Johnny Five from Short Circuit.
Okay.
That's what I want. Fully, like, not human, because there's this thing as well. We always want to build these humanoid robots.
Yeah.
We are not a great design. There's a reason we can't do loads of stuff and we need tools, because we are not a great design. So stop building robots that look like people.
Yeah, and that takes us back. Do you remember a few weeks ago we were talking about the robots who could help with sort of folding laundry because they were developing hands, and we were like, but we want it to be able to put the clothes away.
Yeah.
I think we're some way away from sort of some of that manual dexterity stuff for like the actual jobs that we would like to be done at home.
Yeah.
But even over there are still some like evidence of robots being used already in this country, which aren't your sort of cyborg style Terminator, the Tesla ones that have been
Yeah.
developed, but actually are being really helpful. So Genie Connect, for example, I don't know if you've seen these. It's like a little cute design. But they can like provide sort of like medication reminders and lots of help. There's evidence in Shropshire with people with acquired brain injuries who've been using a Genie at home, who they specifically wanted to reduce their in-person care hours because they didn't want to have somebody in their home all of the time.
Fair.
And with Genie have been able to actually reduce some of those like in-person care hours because actually a lot of it is around sort of the cognitive memory and that sort of side of things, which is really interesting. And Genie Connect, I think, has just been bought out by Care as well, which is obviously a huge care provider across the country. So um, those sorts of like helper assistant robots,
Hmm.
non-moving, there's Sentai, there's a few of them on the market. I think we're starting to see quite a lot of evidence that those actually can provide meaningful help to people.
Absolutely. I mean, they're really just a step on from the way an awful lot of people use things like Amazon Alexas.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more personable, maybe. I think the challenge for me is also one for our workforce, because if we
Yeah.
are going to introduce what will, at the very beginning, have to be very expensive pieces of kit
Yes.
to a workforce who are already overstretched and underpaid.
Hmm.
To have a £20,000 robot in the same room as someone being paid minimum wage, and that person is then having to essentially deliver care to a person and technical support to a robot, to me just feels very unfair. And I
Yeah.
can't see a world in which that makes the carer's life better.
Yeah, I think we're absolutely in agreement on this one. I think some of the economics of how it can work
Uh-huh.
while these robots are so expensive, really, really concerning and things which have to be thought about really, really closely.
Yeah. And that's not to say that we shouldn't do it, and it's not to say that we shouldn't be looking to it, but I think we need to be really careful of some of the unintended consequences sometimes with these things.
Yeah.
Like, we have to get there somehow. And people are going to, as our culture evolves and robots become more of a commercial product, for example. I
Mm,
am gunning for that robot that will put away my washing. Truly believe my life will be better on that day.
mm,
Um, but we just need to be mindful that we have this workforce who are always underappreciated, who
yeah.
are highly skilled in what they do.
Hmm.
And that I want to see a world where robots supplement that,
Yeah.
not kind of interfere with it or make that a harder job for no more reward.
Well, on that powerful note, because I agree with you, I think we should probably move to the interview with Kate.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So this week, as we talked about, we are welcomed by the lovely Kate Gore from Skills for Care. I'm going to invite her to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. So my name's Kate Gore. I am the Relationship and Engagement Manager for the Adult Social Care Workforce Dataset and Workforce Intelligence at Skills for Care.
Hi,
Fab,
Kate.
and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is amazing. I love your podcast. So great to be on.
Our flattery will get you everywhere, including
Absolutely.
on the podcast.
So today we've got you here to talk about the ASC WDS, as it's known in the biz.
Mhm.
But I am going to ask you, can you explain what it is and what it does?
Yes. So the Adult Social Care Workforce Dataset, commonly known as ASC WDS, and a long lengthy title at that, is a free service that Skills for Care offer that allows providers to have a range of benefits for the service, and it's used for data collection as part of being commissioned by the Department of Health and Social Care. So it has a host of benefits for providers to have an account, one of which is that you can store and manage your staff training and qualification records along with staff records. You can also benchmark using the benchmarking tool inside the Adult Social Care Workforce Dataset, so you can see local comparison groups for you as a provider that drill down into pay, recruitment and retention. And then also some very handy charts and bar charts and graphs that you can also then do your ranking in those local comparison groups. You can also then have your work kind of place information stored inside ASC WDS. So you can see stuff like starters, leavers, vacancies for your own organisation. You can opt in to share your reports with the CQC, so all local authorities. And then by sharing your reports with the CQC or local authorities, it's kind of saving you time when it comes ready for inspection. And there's just a whole host of benefits. It's a fantastic service for providers who want to be able to see that data locally for you and how it informs our data that goes out nationally as well. It's fantastic. So a lot more stuff maybe to be touched on in a little bit later. But it does inform a larger part of it to be able to help the sector so we can understand it further.
Yeah, and it's an amazing resource, I think, for the sector, and it's something we'll definitely do more of a deep dive on. We've talked about sort of some of the reports before, but first, I think something which probably is most helpful for people who complete the ASWGS is some of the funding which they then become eligible for. So, we're a big fan on this podcast of telling people where they can get money. So, what funding can care providers get?
So in accessing the Learning and Development Support Scheme, the first step is always for providers to have an ASWDS account. What it enables you to do is having a breakdown of data within the service that makes we have little kind of green ticks within the service that then says, you've got the right amount of data and you become eligible to move on for claiming from the fund. And that can be broken down into other areas like Oliver McGowan mandatory training. So the first step in being able to claim from that fund would be to have an ASWDS account.
Great.
Brilliant.
There's also a range of other benefits within the service, like the benefits bundle. So if you are a user inside the Adult Social Care Workforce Dataset, in addition to being able to be eligible to claim from the Learning and Development Support Scheme for a range of training and qualifications, you can also view the benefits bundle, which shows Skills for Care's quality assured training providers. And so what that enables you to do is see free resources, offers and discounts in that area. So it's our way of saying thank you to providers who create an account and use it.
Brilliant.
Really good.
I mean, Katie and I are, in general, big fans of data, but we reference the Skills for Care data all the time.
Yeah.
I think having a picture of the social care workforce is just invaluable. But I was wondering, as someone who's very close to it, are there any stats that you'd like to particularly highlight?
I think we're so honoured really as an organisation that in having access to reams of data that were provided from the people inside ASWDS or the providers inside ASWDS, we're able to see demographics changes or even stuff around international recruitment. So we can highlight an evidence base to the government to say, a really interesting example would be around our international recruitment data, which showed that it was 105,000 new starters on international recruitment from 2023 to 2024. That dropped by 55,000 new starters for international recruitment in 2024-2025. So really big areas around international recruitment and even domestic recruitment. So we have seen figures drop around domestic kind of British nationals taking up new workplaces, and where we can then evidence that to the government and put the plans in place to be able to support the sector further is really vital.
Yeah, and I think that sort of stat, so that we've been talking a lot on this episode about robots and the future of care and whether robots can sort of support in this area and actually the article that is sort of like was our leaping off point for this whole thing from the BBC quotes the Skills for Care data, talks about the fact there's 113,000 workforce shortage that we need, and our robots may be a way that we can work with this. So, not only Skills for Care are able to use sort of the data that you have to sort of provide that information back to government, but other organizations use it as well. And so it's just fantastic to see that, really.
Yeah, I mean, we know that by 2040, to keep up with the aging population, we need 470,000 new roles. So it's a big gap that we've got to somehow fill. And in large part, the data that we collect, not only is it from providers going into the adult social care workforce data set, but then what we can then show on the Skills for Care website through our data visualization tableaus. So we're able to then do a really great breakdown from national, regional and local levels around pay and recruitment, skills, qualifications, training to demographics of the workforce. And so you can get if you're a provider, you can get a really source intensive way of being able to access data that would benefit your organization strategically.
Yeah, it's such a cornerstone, isn't it? I always feel like the Skills for Care data set is such a cornerstone of how we visualize and understand the sector in the absence of anything, particularly centralized. And the fact that it is something that providers are willingly signing up for and given really speaks to the nature of social care in general, but is such a testament to the work that Skills for Care are doing to, steward that data and evidence that it is worthwhile collecting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly lucky. I think I work with a group of people, not at both our analyst team, but the support team behind the adult social care workforce dataset, who are invaluable to the way that we operate. And we wouldn't be as successful as we are without the team that supports behind us with the WDS. I mean, there's other ways that we also try and integrate into Skills for Care, through, working alongside our workforce strategy team, or whether it comes down to the care workforce pathway. So we kind of gather that data in form of those other ways and routes, almost like a tree with roots and branches. And we try and say, right, well, we can inform better practice across the sector by filling these areas, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's really sort of evidence-based decision making is something that we really need to see more of in social care. And obviously with the workforce strategy, it's something we're really interested in because there's specific sort of elements around digital and data within the workforce strategy and the way that the sector might be going. I think touching on sort of potential AI, sort of future digital roles. So yeah, it's all interconnected really. We're trying to get more data on analysts, I think.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic in a way because having an ASC WDS account, what it allows for providers to do that are more digitally focused and want to go into those digital skills. We can offer discounts, through the Level 5 digital leadership course or other areas where they might be, if you're a digital, bod and you like to look at the evidence base and say, this is where we can improve our organization as a whole and our strategic planning, look at the data, the workforce visualization tablets, but also be part of that voice that's inside the adult social care workforce data set. And in giving us the data, you get a host of benefits back that we always try to continuously improve and kind of update the service in line with what users tell us back in user research sessions. So we're always listening.
Brilliant. Now, I'm sure nobody needs this, and we will share the links in the show notes, but where can providers find you if they are, for some reason they've never come across it before?
Yeah. So please go on the Skills for Care website. It's under the Adult Social Care Workforce Dataset, and it kind of says Get Started Today. And then there's a little button that says Create an Account. And creating an account is really simple. It takes less than a minute. So you do need, if you're a CQC registered provider, to say whether or not you are a CQC registered provider. With that, it would be having if it's a yes, what your CQC location ID is. If not, a postcode also works for if you're non-CQC and CQC regulated. The main type of service that you provide and the number of staff. And that's all you need to get started.
Fabulous. Well,
So easy.
thank you so much, Kate. That's been really interesting. And, as I say, this is something we're familiar with, but hearing about all the benefits directly to providers has really been so interesting for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's a journey, I think, for all. At the moment, there's over 20,000 providers inside the adult social care workforce dataset, which is fantastic. And I think of those over 700,000 staff records and many, many more training and records qualifications. So if providers who are not inside the service want to benefit themselves, but also kind of put back to the sector with the kind of having that voice and being heard, then definitely create an account.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to be here.
Oh, no worries. No worries. I mean, yeah, it's great to see, because I think when you think about the sector as a whole, 1.61 million people work in adult social care. So 111,000 vacancies. It's just mad to think how many providers there are in adult social care altogether.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling statistic.
It is.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. And as always, please go and have a look at the Skills for Care visualization tableaus on the Skills for Care website under our Workforce Intelligence site. Create an account, and it really does help you as providers to really see the benefits of the service, but also us to be able to see the data and then the national picture of adult social care.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
It was great to have Kate here.
Yeah.
But we are moving on to our favourite segment, which is Cyber Squirrels. Now, I will say, Cyber Squirrels is always the segment that we use to relieve some of the doom and gloom that talking about tech can sometimes do. And I think this has been an overwhelmingly positive episode by our standards. However, Katie, you've got one for us today.
I do. And unusually for this format, I haven't actually pre-told Michelle what this is. And I don't know if you're going to love or hate this one, to be honest with you, Michelle. I think you're going to hate it. So this is an article that I came across from Billboard.com. So, the guys who do sort of like the top 100 albums in the world, top 100 sort of like country music artists and everything. And this is the first 14 AI-generated songs which have made it onto the Billboard Top 100.
Nope, hate it 100%. Take it away.
For audio-only listeners, the sigh that Michelle's face just went through, it was a face journey that happened.
Okay.
Yeah. So AI music is here. It's a mixture, I should say, between artists who are using an AI avatar as sort of like and using some AI to generate the music, as opposed to, and then there are also other artists, in inverted commas, on there who we don't know who the background is. Billboard have found that they are AI. They may be entirely AI, the whole thing. I haven't listened to all of them. That is my evening work to see if there are any good AI music. The country music one I listened to, it's not my genre, in its defense. Did not enjoy. Very bland.
I can't. This is, in fact, Cyber Squirrels is bringing me down now. What have we come to? I do not want to live in a world where art is outsourced. There are artists in every one of us, and there is space for people to just make art because they love art. And if we start with AI slop making it onto the charts, which are, flawed in multitude of ways, but they are, the metric of success. Where is the space for the artists? I don't want to listen to AI music.
Same. But it is nonetheless the world in which we are currently in.
No.
It was the interesting thing I found about it was that Billboard actually do have a metric in a way, and then they mark songs which are AI generated. So even if it's not been actually acknowledged by the person who prompted the AI to create it, that it's AI, they've developed a mechanism by which they can tell if a song is AI, which is quite cool.
Right, you can listen to the music tonight. I'm going to start my AI pop career.
Okay, sure.
I'm all in. Forget it. Forget all my objections.
No, the spin out of the digital care
I think I might go country.
Will just be an album career.
I'm thinking my first ever digital care hub country album.
Mhm.
And it'll be ready in the morning.
It'll be all about cybersecurity.
Dark tales of data lost. I mean, I'd buy it.
License free, obviously. You have to have it as free.
Open source. Well,
Um,
thank you for that, Katie.
Mhm.
Okay. That's the episode today. Come back next week when we'll be discussing the latest digital news in care. So what happens when you two plugged in people team up to demystify digital care? You get Control Plus Care.
Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts, and all of the links mentioned today will be in the show notes.
And tell a colleague, particularly if they're worried about being replaced by robots.